Welcome back, everyone. Your loyal Captain Gilbert under this return for another video for you guys today. And guys, it's finally here. After all this time, after a month, after a literal year of waiting, we are finally back with more What If Ash Was Red Sun. We are continuing with the Johto series. And I know, you guys. I said I was going to do this for the longest time. But we're finally back. We're finally back at it again. Continuing on with the Johto series. It's been, I think, a year since I stopped the Kanto series. And you guys desperately wanted a Johto series. I saw the comments. And I thought to myself, why am I putting this off for so long? It's just that this takes a whole lot of editing. Like, for you guys, it's instant, but it takes minutes of editing and just moving these images around on my part. As you guys can see, this is literally a video clip because I've got, like, moving Pokemon animations and all that. But still, I've got to move a lot of stuff around. That's why I, really don't bother. I can't be bothered with all this editing and stuff like that. But since I love Pokemon as a whole, and, well, Ash is no longer in the story anymore, so I can't... so since then, I've just been a little sad on that one. Well, he hasn't been in the main story for a while. They need to continue his journey, but a little bit older. So let's continue. Anyway, if you guys want more of this series, be sure to leave a like and comments down below. 5 likes, and we will continue this. Because we're on the road to 400 subscribers. Come on now. We got 381 at this point. We got to continue this grind. So, you guys, be sure to tell your friends everything about this channel. Turn those bell post notifications on. That way you guys are notified every time I make a video. And be sure to hit the subscribe button. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. But I hope you don't, because we're on the road to 1K subscribers. Gonna make this crew grow a whole lot bigger. Heck yeah, that's right. So with that being said, let's continue where we left off. So, like I said before, Ash does age in my AU, in this AU that I've got. But in this one, he's still 10 years old. His 11th birthday, will come around when, once the Johto series is ending. So he will actually age appropriately, due to a year or something such, to the appropriate, to the appropriate regions and everything. So Kanto, and Johto, he would be 11, 12 going into Hoenn, 13 going into Sinnoh, 14 going into Unova, 15 to Kalos, 16 to Alola, and 17 going into Galar. Yeah. So at that point, he will actually age accordingly. So right now, he's still 10 years old, but once the Johto series will be over, he will be, appropriate, around 11 years old. But anyway, I've gone through my entire series, and I remember where I left off. So let's continue. This story would pick up around Ash going to Professor Elm's Pokemon office to see a few things about the strange Pokemon egg that he found. Also, the GS ball that Professor Oak had given him. So that's also a strange Pokeball because they can't open it. Also, Brock and Misty are there with him. I'm sorry, guys. I just couldn't be bothered to edit them into this clip right here because, I got to go through a lot just to post this stuff in through. Maybe I can probably give you guys a 2-for-1 a 2-for-1 gym battle special, just to show you guys that I'm back and I do want this to prosper here. So yeah, comment down below if you guys want to see more of this series here, because I know it's been a long-waited one. But anyway, let's continue. Anyway, Professor Elm says there isn't much he can do about the GS ball, but he does invite Ash onto the Johto League, because, well, since Ash is the Indigo League champion, well, is the literal champion of Kanto. And keep in mind, Ash kept up his training. He didn't slack off at all. So he's actually the strongest trainer in Kanto. But since Professor Oak pretty much barred him from taking any of his Kanto Pokemon to Johto, unless he really needed him, that will be a thing. So Ash goes ahead and signs up for the Johto League. And, okay, unlike this one, guys, I do feel bad for Ash in the Johto League because there's really not much Pokemon for him to choose from. You can make it... Okay, I can give Ash an excuse for the Johto League because there really isn't that many variety of Pokemon that he can choose from. Even if you give, even if you give like the widest variety of the Johto decks, it's still a version of Kanto. Ash would still have most of the Johto decks completed because it's just like right next door to the Kanto Pokemon. So there ain't really much I can give him. But looking at the Johto Pokedex, there is a few Pokemon that I can give him that would be of a very good variety. And there's a few missed out opportunities on some certain Pokemon. So you guys don't have to worry. I'm still gonna give him Pokemon, and we're gonna make this a pretty good and diverse team. Starting with a Pokemon that I feel is wasted. That was wasted potential. So with that being said, Ash continues his journey on to the Johto region. And I know what some of you guys might say, but wait, shouldn't he get a Pokemon from the professor? Nah, not really, because Professor Elm didn't give him any of the Johto starters, so I don't see a reason why he should start getting one now, unless like he has a reason to get one from him. Anyway, so this is Ash continuing upon his journey. You know what? It's time for a new catch. Let's do that. Okay, guys. So for some of this to actually work. Sorry about that. And for Ash to actually have a pretty good and diverse team, I gotta give him some members of his Johto team a bit earlier on, but also I gotta give him some like brand new Pokemon because like I said, Johto ain't really that diverse in Pokemon. It's literally just shared with the Kanto region. Also, if you guys hear an air conditioner in the background, that's mine. You guys are just gonna have to deal with that. It's too hot for me not to have it on now. I'm just burning. So it's like summertime and it's just way too hot. So Ash just going through the grass, and I'm gonna say he ends up finding a pretty all right and you know what, a pretty average Pokemon for you to have at this point. Actually, he finds two of them, and honestly, I feel like this is pretty much needed since they were introduced in this region anyway. So let's go. Two new Pokemon on his team. Bam. Bam. So Ash ends up finding in the grass two shiny Eevees. Well, there's a specific reason why I'm giving him two, y'all. Because if you know Johto, there's two evolutions that came from Johto, honestly. So I was like, you know what? Why not? Might as well be a diverse with this team. So with that being said, Ash ends up finding two Eevees and realizing that these two are actually a couple. So obviously not wanting to separate the two Eevees, the male Eevee, aka the bigger Eevee, steps up to the plate to try to stop Ash. And Ash, having no Pokemon besides Mew, sends out Mew for a fight. Mew is already over like level 100 at this point, but since in my AU there really is no level cap to how strong you can get. I know in the games it's 100, but in this AU there's no cap. You can get as strong as you goddamn please, even enough to like straight up one tap any Pokemon. So since Mew is already beyond level 100, Ash tells Mew to like hold back. That way he doesn't really severely hurt the Eevee. And Mew understands the point to not hurt the Eevees. So, but don't worry, Ash uses like really weaker attacks. Like he uses attacks like Confusion and Side Strike. He also uses like attacks like Rock Smash. You know, while Mew is holding back because he doesn't want to throw out crazy powerful attacks and severely injure the Pokemon. So with like the male Eevee defeated, the female Eevee runs over, and Ash just gets Mew and tells her to use Heal Pulse, and the Mew heals the male Eevee. The male Eevee gets up confused, and Ash brings out two Pokeballs. He tells them, "Don't worry, he's not going to separate them. But he does need them for his journey. They'll still get to be together, just with him." And basically, the male Eevee nods because it did lose the battle. And the female Eevee walks forward. Ash places two Pokeballs down, and they both just touch their foreheads on the Pokeballs, and signifying his newly acquired captures. Ash had caught two new Eevees for his journey. So, okay, guys, you guys are... this is going to be different because Espeon and Umbreon... forget it. You guys should already know what new evolutions came from this region. Espeon and Umbreon are two like very specialized Pokemon, and I feel that having a diverse like team like this on his team would actually make a lot of sense, considering it's like very, very difficult for anything to go around like Ash's way, and considering how tough everything truly is. So with that being said, things are just gonna be, oh man, absolutely like just straight up borderline boring. But thankfully, with these two new acquired Pokemon, Ash should stand a chance. I mean, well, he's going to stand a chance anyway, regardless. But he just doesn't want to rely on his old Pokemon because that dad instilled this lesson in him. So anyway, on with the journey. So let's see what we can do. So right, all we're doing right now is having a little bit of a training session, guys. And there really isn't much that I could do in a sense of stuff like this. But hey, I've got to get something down anyway. So while Ash is just training the other two Eevees to be stronger, oh, I almost forgot a little bit of a thing like this. Ash can actually understand Pokemon, like real life Pokemon dialogue. So I know this is a thing that's been hinted at throughout the series, but because it's Mew and Ash is the chosen one, he actually can understand Pokemon, like as if they were actually talking. You know how Team Rocket's Meowth, aka Ash had already caught that Meowth, so it's his. I probably like put down in the comment section if you want Team Rocket's Meowth to make a comeback in the Johto series, because we can actually make him say some crazy stuff. But anyway, like Team Rocket's Meowth, how he can actually talk like normally, Ash can actually understand Pokemon saying their regular dialogue. Like if Mew were to just say regular Mew, or Eevees just saying their name Eevees, Ash can borderline understand them as if they were talking like regular people. So yeah, crazy stuff. So Ash training Mew with his two Eevees right there, and the two Eevees are actually getting a lot stronger. It is like a rough start at first because they aren't battlers, and Ash can understand like why they wouldn't be, but Ash does instill in them that they do need to be a bit stronger if they want to protect themselves, because a brutal Pokemon could have come out of nowhere and severely injured them. So them understanding this do take the training seriously, but Ash coming up did his research on Johto, like because when he did come over here from a boat. He had bought a book about Johto, and his father had given him information about Johto. So he knows that the first gym coming up is a flying type gym. Yes, of course he could do something about that, and just cheese his way through with Mew, but Ash doesn't want to rely on his old Pokemon that way. So he doesn't exactly know what to do. So Ash is just left in a stump to actually think. He needs a certain Pokemon that can actually do something here. This is gonna be rough. Oh well, we'll just leave Ash to think about it. So with that being said, let's go to the first gym. We'll get new captures in the next thing. So first gym. Dang, that's only on 12 minutes, and I got an hour to go left. Oh well, let's just see how far we can take this, guys. So on to the first gym. But not before he gets his whole team together. That's right. You think I forgot? Nope. It's time for some Heracross action. So Ash going through the forest with Misty and Brock, I've got to input them into this goddamn thing so that way you guys don't think he's just alone. Misty, Brock, and Ash camping in the forest. I know it would be Bulbasaur would have to be here, but since Bulbasaur is a Venusaur, and Heracross would be sucking on Bulbasaur's bulb on its back. Pause on that one. Okay, so yeah, someone put a pause on that one. We can't really get Heracross in this action, but we got to because Heracross is Ash's ace. I said that in quotation marks, ace of the Johto series, because there ain't really much to choose from. So with that being said, we gotta fix that. So we'll just say, ooh, I got it. Since in the Sinnoh region you can get Heracross by by placing honey on honey trees. I'm gonna say that's what Heracross was doing, but because Beedrill were around, and because they're literally the honeycomb and bee Pokemon, they have their own hives, and they were using honey. So Heracross was licking the honey, off of the trees. Yeah. So, and that's how Ash had ended up finding Heracross. So obviously a battle would ensue. Now this Heracross would be mildly strong. But there's a lot Ash could do with it because bug and fighting type. Bug and fighting, and not the best combination that he's got going on, but Ash can completely understand it because what they're going to be going up is flying type Pokemon. So Heracross really won't be that much of use unless he can get a rock type move behind his belt. But still, even that would be pushing it. But whatever, it's fine. So Ash ends up like beating the Heracross with Mew using Psychic one time and throwing a Pokeball at it. So Ash will be getting a newly caught Heracross. And just one more Pokemon before we can actually move on to the first badge. So let's just get that over with already. And you guys should probably know who this is. And that's when finally the Chikorita episode comes around. So the journey is traveling, and then they end up meeting Chikorita. Now, okay, hold on. Before we continue, I'm going to say it right now. Johto had too many mid-stage evolutions. Too many mid-stages. There wasn't enough evolutions, and I think Ash lost because he just lacked enough power. I'm sorry, but Ash had some good Pokemon in Johto, but he just never let them flourish. Like being stuck at mid-stages, never going to the full final stages. I'm not really here for any of that. Yes, I'm here about the bonds of the Pokemon and everything. I love that. But seriously though, you gotta realize, like, some Pokemon just can't really win against some others without those increased stats. And a much bigger move pool at that as well. I mean, he had a freaking Quilava when he could have had a Typhlosion that could learn, like, Thunder Punch. I mean, come on, man. There's some variety in that. But, okay. Anyway, the Chikorita episode happens just like in the anime, and Chikorita ends up, like, having a crush on Ash. Ash will get the rules down and everything, but as of right now, he doesn't really, because, well, Ash is a lot more smarter in this one, so he realized that Chikorita does like him, like, really, really likes him. Like, oh boy, I hope this doesn't go out of hand. So Ash will be, but hey, thankfully, this means that Ash could be spending more time with his Pokemon and Chikorita, so he'll have time to bond with his Pokemon more. And because of this, before we go to the first gym, we're gonna do a team training session, because at this point Ash has a full team of Pokemon, so might as well do a team training session right now. So team training session, team training session. So with this being said, Ash is training the team up right now, and because Chikorita wants to be recognized as Ash's strongest Pokemon, she actually puts in a lot more work than the other Pokemon, literally like squaring up against Heracross. And like I said, since the two Eevees aren't really fighters in that sense, Chikorita can actually beat them, even though she's a newly caught Pokemon, because Chikorita was like actually very strong as a Chikorita. So she's actually like third strongest up on the team right now. But since she wants to be known as Ash's best Pokemon of this region, she actually goes up and squares up against the likes of Heracross. And Heracross does got to put in a lot more like effort in order to beat Chikorita, but it actually was very close because Heracross was a newly caught Pokemon as well. But still, that goes to show just how powerful Chikorita is. Maybe I could get, you know what? Yeah, screw it. I don't even know why I'm holding back so much, because Team Rocket isn't even in this series anyway. And plus, I do this naturally anyway. So, and plus, Ash just needs the power boost. He just absolutely needs it. So I feel like I can do this like right now. So sorry about that. Sorry about those who feel like this is a bit rushed and everything. But keep in mind, actively training your Pokemon can evolve them too. So with Ash actually doing it, and we don't really know how much of a high level Chikorita is, I'm going to say this was the Cataclysm right here. And because she already has a crush on Ash, and Ash is kind of reciprocating those feelings a bit, I feel like this is enough of a Cataclysm for Chikorita to evolve. So Chikorita wanting to, getting back up after Ash telling her to just stay down, it's okay that she can't do it. Chikorita gets back up and wants to prove to Ash she actually can win. So she gets back up and she starts glowing, actively evolving earlier into, so Ash would get a Bayleaf extremely early in this sense, because I find it necessary, because if Ash is going to win this league, his stronger Pokemon have to get used to themselves like a lot quicker. And Ash has to, and because Ash is actively putting in the work to actively train his Pokemon, I feel like this is good enough. And I mean, if you guys train hard enough in the Pokemon games, you can actively evolve you can have your starters evolved before the first gym, because they're always going to listen to you anyway. But hey, screw it. I'm going to say like Ash's levels don't really matter in this sense. So with Chikorita already being strong enough and having the bond of love with having a crush on Ash, I'm going to say this was Cataclysm enough for her to evolve. So with that being said, Ash has a newly evolved Bayleaf extremely early in this sense. So with all that being said, this is a great enough challenge. And now, because of the increased move pool, Bayleaf can now actively fight against Heracross. And Heracross is having a lot more trouble than normal. But because of Bayleaf, because thanks to the newly evolved Bayleaf, it learned a new move, Nature Power. It just seems like almost all grass types can just learn this move. But anyway, Nature Power. And that included like an energy ball that Heracross wasn't really expecting. And boom! Heracross got hit with an energy ball. And sadly, Heracross like went down and like collapsed. It fainted. And after that, Bayleaf also collapsed too due to exhaustion. So two Pokemon are really going at it, and this was really cool. And the two Eevees realized they have to pick up the slack because they're being left in the dust right now. So they also do some hard training as well. Alright, now we can move on to the first gym, because now this is actually appropriate here. Let's go. Alright, here we are, y'all. Ash at his first Pokemon gym against the gym leader, Falkner. Now, this here is going to be tough since Ash knows he's not suited to fight a flying type gym leader. But, oh well, he's going to have to make do with what he's got. Man, this is going to be rough. This is going to be rough. All right, screw it. So let's begin. Falconer here is excited because he's heard of Ash before. The Kanto League champion, coming to challenge the Johto League. So he asks Ash how many badges does he have. And Ash would say this is his first one. Ah, okay, cool. So Falconer knows exactly what to do, but he's still going to challenge Ash because you guys know what he had in the freaking anime. So, let's do this. So Falconer says he's only going to use 2 Pokemon. So with that being said, he throws out his first one. Let's do it. Battle begin. Go, Pidgeotto. Heracross, I choose you. I can't do the goddamn voice. Heracross, I choose you. So, boom, they both throw out their Pokemon, and the battle would instantly start. Falconer would tell Ash he does realize that Heracross is at a type disadvantage because if he lands any flying type moves, Heracross will be severely hurt. Ash would say that he knows that, but his team isn't really built to fight flying types right now. So honestly, he just got to hit as hard as he possibly can. And Falconer would say, I see. Well then, we won't hold back. Pidgeotto, go and use Drill Peck. And instantly Pidgeotto is right on Heracross trying to come at him. But thankfully, you can dodge in the goddamn anime. Like, Heracross, dodge it, then use Brick Break. And immediately Heracross would dodge. And, okay, due to it being a flying type, it's, not that effective. It's just normal, because Pidgeotto is normal in flying. It's just regular effective and just not very effective. So Brick Break would actually do something here. But Ash still has to keep to his normal type moves because bug type moves aren't really going to do anything here. Except one move that Heracross does have. He's got to be careful and to know when exactly to use a move like that. And that's when Falconer goes and uses Quick Attack. And Ash would see this as his moment. He would tell Heracross now to use, to use Headbutt. And immediately Heracross would wind back its horn and smash into Pidgeotto. But since Pidgeotto is faster, it didn't give Heracross all the way like the wind up time in order to swing. So they both took damage from that. Pidgeotto from the horn and Heracross from the Quick Attack. Because Heracross isn't sadly not faster than Pidgeotto. And then Falconer would call for a wing attack this time. Like, holy crap. Okay. So this is gonna be bad. But Ash just knows he's got to do an exchange for an exchange. So he calls for another Brick Break, and instantly, like the two attacks collide. It seems that they're neck and neck, but because Heracross is a fighting type, it has more of a physical bulk against Pidgeotto's wing. So it ends up pushing back Pidgeotto, smacking its wing away, and thankfully hitting Pidgeotto square in the face with the Brick Break. And Ash takes this as his opportunity to now use Headbutt again. And Headbutt this time hits Pidgeotto full force, causing it to actually flinch. Nice. And then Ash has a great idea, to jump on top of Pidgeotto to keep it on the ground. And that's what Heracross does. Jumps on Pidgeotto's back, and Ash just says lay into it with a ton of Brick Breaks. And that's exactly what it does. Brick Break after Brick Break upon Pidgeotto's back. And Pidgeotto's severely injured and it can't, compete with the weight of Heracross. And now Ash has to call for his move. Use Leech Life to gain back any HP that it may have lost and some stamina. So Heracross opens its mouth and it bites down on Pidgeotto's back and instantly starts draining Pidgeotto of its energy and health. Sadly, this is where it ends for Pidgeotto because it collapses to the ground, completely knocked out. Like, this was a good battle. That was pretty alright. Thankfully, Ash had already planned around flying types ahead of time, but he knows that Faulkner's next Pokemon is going to be very, very strong. And Faulkner was actually impressed, because when trainers come in with bug types, it's not really a good matchup here. But, okay, fine then. So now Faulkner recalls back his Pidgeotto and thanks it for its efforts. But Ash here, he tells Ash that this next Pokemon is gonna really give him a run for his money, and he better really think hard on what he wants to do next. And Ash is ready for it. Huh? Pidgeot, let's do this. So out comes Faulkner's Pidgeot, and Ash knows this is going to be nothing but trouble. Trouble, man. Because Ash has a Pidgeot, so he knows how freaking fast and diverse their attacks can be. Because if that Pidgeot is... and Ash can see from Faulkner's Pidgeot's eyes, that is a well-trained Pokemon, ready to bring nothing but hellfire down upon you. So, oh boy. Here we come with this crap. So, immediately the battle would begin. Faulkner immediately starts out with a Sky Attack, allowing Pidgeot to power up. So Ash has to take this opportunity. He tells Heracross to use Brick Break after Brick Break. And instantly, Heracross is on Pidgeot, hitting it in the gut and in the face. Now, this does knock Pidgeot back a fair bit, but it's like the, if you guys have seen Dragon Ball Z, like, Battle of Gods, it's like Vegeta beating down on Beerus. It's barely doing anything. Because Pidgeot's, like, very tank and bulky. It's, like, very fast. Until Ash realizes he has no choice, and he uses Headbutt on Pidgeot. And it does knock it all the way back. But he knows that Pidgeot is already done, so he tells Heracross to get ready to use a Mega Horn, because that's its strongest attack, and Heracross has got to do something here. So Heracross powers up its horn for its most powerful attack. And when Pidgeot is ready, Faulkner calls for the Sky Attack. And then Ash immediately calls for the Mega Horn, and instantly the two attacks collide, the two strongest attacks that they can muster. Now, Ash's Heracross is hanging on, but it's on all fours, pushing back against Pidgeot. That's a final evolution, and it is faster. Now, these two are completely at neck and neck, but since I'm gonna say Pidgeot has a lot more experience than Heracross does, it manages to beat Heracross in the exchange of the two attacks, but not before taking some damage itself, because you got to force through the horn in order to get through. So Pidgeot does take damage from that. But Heracross gets knocked back a massive amount. Heracross is almost completely down for the count. So Ash only has one move left to use. When Pidgeot comes in for a quick attack, Ash calls for another Mega Horn again. Got to get off as much damage as you possibly can. Wait, no. Instead, he calls for a Headbutt this time. Instantly, the Headbutt collides, and Pidgeot actually manages to get hit. And it actually does flinch for this one. Ash calls for another Brick Break, and instantly, boom, Pidgeot gets hit again. But finally, Ash has to call for one last Mega Horn, because he realizes Heracross isn't going to be up for this long. And finally, when the Mega Horn does hit, Faulkner calls for a Wing Attack, and instantly, when Heracross gets hit, it gets knocked out. It's done for this time. Ash thanks Heracross for the fight and for the damage that it did do, but there really isn't much Heracross could have done for that fight there. So, with that being said, Heracross returned for now. Man, Faulkner tells Ash he's really impressed with how far he's gotten with this, because he didn't think Heracross would survive the Sky Attack, but hey, he surprised him. But Ash just says he's full of surprises. Bayleaf, I choose you! Now, with Bayleaf hitting the floor, now we've got ourselves a real fight going on. Faulkner just tells Ash what is he thinking, that's a grass type. Ash would say he knows, but he's got an idea in the back of his mind. Alright then, well, Pidgeotto, go and use Quick Attack. Pidgeotto comes in for the Quick Attack, and instantly Ash calls for Bayleaf to use a Nature Power. And the Nature Power, crazy enough, turns into a Power Gem, and it gets thrown right at Pidgeot. Now, Pidgeot wasn't expecting a Power Gem, and neither was Faulkner. So immediately, boom, Pidgeot gets hit with super effective damage. And instantly, Ash is trying to capitalize on this. While Pidgeot has been hurt, he tells Bayleaf to go for a body slam. And instantly, Bayleaf hits Pidgeot with a body slam. And as luck may have it, the paralysis actually manages to land upon Pidgeot. Like, oh no, this isn't good. Now, because of Pidgeot's paralysis, that makes it slower. So Ash keeps calling for nature powers and nature powers. And thankfully, the power gems hit Pidgeot for a lot of damage. Now they're really getting far with this. And that's when Faulkner has no choice but to call for a sky attack, because Pidgeot's getting really hurt out there. And that's when Ash calls for a Razor Leaf in order to like swipe Pidgeot and to throw its mind off. Because Ash has a big move right here, because this is going to be a lot. So as Ash gets ready, he tells Bayleaf to do it. As Bayleaf now implants its feet into the ground and gets ready. And as Faulkner calls for the sky attack, Pidgeot rushes at Bayleaf, but Bayleaf is ready. As Ash screams, "Now Bayleaf, use Solar Beam!" And immediately when Bayleaf does, the beam of light shoots as powerful as it can at Pidgeot, and the two attacks collide. Pidgeot trying to charge through the solar beam, while Bayleaf is putting all of its power into it. Bayleaf, refusing to give up, puts more power, and the beam gets larger, pushing Pidgeot back. But Faulkner still calls for Pidgeot, his partner, as Pidgeot tries to charge through. And it does manage to get through a little bit, almost hitting Bayleaf directly, until the paralysis kicked in and stopped it. And Ash says, "Bayleaf, now's our chance!" And instantly, Bayleaf's eyes open as it fires the solar beam, as powerful as it can, knocking back Pidgeot all the way back to the ground. And instantly, Pidgeot gets blown through past Faulkner and into the wall, as Pidgeot has been knocked completely out, declaring Ash the victor of this gym battle. And that's all she wrote for her. Faulkner is proud of Pidgeot and recalls it back to its Pokeball, and thanked Ash for the wonderful battle that he had. Ash just says no problem, because this here is actively going to be something very great. Oh wait, hold on. Nah, not yet. You know what? Screw it, we're gonna, you know what, nah. So Ash getting his first gym badge of the Johto region. Now guys, let's continue on with a few more catches. Because now it's time for Ash to get add 3 new catches to his team. Let's go. Alright guys, now to progress the story even forward, more forward, we got things to do. So this is the way it would actually go. While the group is traveling, yes, I put Misty and Brock in here. We got things that needs to be going on. While they're traveling, Ash can feel the Pokemon egg he was carrying actually start to shake. Oh? And finally, we would get the long-awaited arrival of Togepi. That's right, y'all. We would finally have the arrival of Togepi. Now, I'm going to say that episode doesn't really play out the same, because remember, we don't have Team Rocket in this series. So when Togepi evolves, Ash is completely, like, appalled. Also, quick thing. Misty and Brock weren't actually here at the time. They were actually both out getting groceries. So, Togepi has a lot more time to bond with Ash and Mew. And since Mew is pretty much a gentle Pokemon, gentle to all Pokemon, Ash, Mew, and Togepi get along fairly well. So when Misty and Brock return, they already see Togepi, like, out of its egg and everything. And Ash already contacted Professor Elm and Professor Oak about the egg and everything. So that had already pretty much went the same. But since Misty is, like, fawning over the Pokemon and she's too obsessive over it, Togepi reflexively goes back to Ash and Mew. As, like, you know, views Pikachu. I mean, because in the anime, it views Pikachu as, like, its older brother type. But in this one, it views Mew as, like, its parent and Ash. Mew and Ash is, like, their parent. It's like his parent. I'm gonna say Togepi's a guy at this point, so screw it. So Togepi reflexively going to Mew and Ash, that pretty much signifies that Togepi wants to stay with Ash. So with that being said, Ash had gotten a Pokeball, but it's gentle. He lightly touched Togepi's head with it and signified his new Pokemon capture. And you guys might be wondering, why did I give Togepi to Ash? That's because I feel like Togepi is completely wasted with Misty. We never see it do almost anything at all. So, and plus, Togekiss is a monster. You can't argue with that. Togekiss is a goddamn monster in battles. So, hey, whatever. Extreme Speed, Aura Sphere, I mean, come on now. Moonblast, all of that is pretty cool. Fairy Flying is a pretty good typing, and I feel like Togepi is a completely wasted Pokemon on Misty. Yeah, I don't care who says what. Fight me over it. So, now Ash has a newly evolved Togepi to the roster. But because of this, I said 3 captures. So this is going to be absolutely cool. So hold on, guys. I gotta make a quick story go past. So let's do this. All right, here we are, y'all. So this is when, okay, I said 3 new captures, but also throwing in some evolutions in there quite early because we got to get the story moving on. So with this being said, oops, I forgot to implement the first badge. You guys will see right after that, right after this. So anyway, while Ash is training his 2 EVs going on, and like he would throw Togepi into the mix, but Togepi is still too young for any type of battles. But don't worry about that. We'll inspire Togepi to actually be a battler in a bit. Just give us a second to roll this on. You know what? Let's just say all of Ash's Pokemon are out training, and Togepi is just watching. So the reason why this is happening right now is Togepi's watching like Ash train his Pokemon, and Togepi gets like invigorated by the thrill of battle. Like Togepi even jumps out of Misty's arms, aka because Misty was holding Togepi, and actually wants to join in on the training. Ash just asks Togepi, is he sure? Togepi would nod, but Ash would say, okay, but he can't practice on actual Pokemon, because, well, Togepi's like fresh out of the egg, so he doesn't want to overwhelm Togepi with like a battle straight away. So with this being said, instead, Togepi is going to practice on rocks and everything, going to see what Togepi can do. And Togepi's only good move right now is Metronome, which is pretty much a wild card. So, yeah, this is going to be a lot. So Togepi has to practice on rocks and, like, trees and the grass and, like, you know, leaves for now. Gotta practice makes perfect before he can actually start fighting. But while Ash was training his 2 EVs, one of them had actually evolved. It was the female one, you know, the tinier one, the one that's next to Misty right now. Because of the friendship and it being daytime, we get one of the 2 new evolutions that's going on during this, and that would be Espeon. Yes, I feel like having the female one evolve into Espeon would actually make it a lot easier. And since it's a psychic type, Mew is actually going to be a very big help in this. Well, Mew can learn any Pokemon move at all. So, but since it's purely a since Mew itself is a psychic type, you can tell how that Espeon is going to be extremely powerful. But you know, and then you got the other male Eevee that's also training a bit harder. That's trying to evolve. But so we gotta wait for it at nighttime. Nighttime eventually rolls around, and you guys already know which evolution's happening. Come on now, let's not play any games. It evolves into Umbreon. Espeon and Umbreon, 2 very good captures for the Johto region. I mean, oops. This is the region where they were introduced, I'm pretty sure. So with that being said, might as well. Because why the heck not, y'all? I mean, come on, why not? So with all this being said, and we have more of a type diversity in this team, Ash realizes that this would be cool. Now what is he going to do this time? Oh yeah, we forgot. There's 2 more Pokemon Ash needs to capture before I can end this series. Before I can end the series, end this episode. So let's continue on with that. All right, guys, Totodile. So this is the Totodile episode, and honestly, I feel. Oh, also, I did put the flying type badge there. I hope you guys could actually see it, but yeah, it's there. And now Ash and Misty are continuing their journey until finally the Totodile episode runs around. It's a new water type, so the new lure balls that they have, they try to capture it. But since they can't decide who caught it first, they have to battle it out. Misty sends out her like Poliwag and Poliwhirl, but come on, with Ash's newly acquired team, she has no way of actually winning this fight. So crazy enough, so scarily enough, Ash ends up winning the fight, and he gets Totodile anyway. Okay, so this would be a full team of 6 right now. So sadly, we got to send 1 Pokemon back. Well, actually 2, because since Espeon and Umbreon are fully evolved Pokemon, Ash doesn't. And since one can't be without the other, Ash decides to send them to Professor Oak's lab, as in like rebound Pokemon. But he tells him to keep training and to get even stronger with his other Pokemon. They both nod, so that leaves 2 free slots open for Ash's Totodile to actually pick up the slack. And thankfully, we don't have to wait that long for Ash to get a new acquired team of 6. So yeah, Umbreon and Espeon are there to add type diversity to Ash's team if he needs more Pokemon. Because in Johto, there just isn't enough. There's just never going to be enough Pokemon for him. So got to give him more of a diverse team, and I'm trying to give him more members. So with this being said, now on to another Pokemon Ash should have definitely caught up in Johto. So let's roll around and see that episode. And here we go. This will be around the time that the Larvitar episode would happen. And honestly, guys, I feel that Larvitar is an extremely underrated Pokemon that Ash should have definitely caught. And it would have definitely been a great asset in the Johto League. So that episode would pretty much go as normal. I don't really see a change in it. Except when Larvitar's mother comes around, the gigantic Tyranitar, it would be a different dialogue. And here we go, y'all. When the Tyranitar comes around trying to take back its baby, like the baby Pokemon does go towards its mother, but then it looks back at Ash, and then it looks back to its mother, and they actually have a good dialogue that Ash can understand. And the Tyranitar looks at its baby and asks, "Are you sure?" And Larvitar would nod. And then Larvitar would end up running back toward Ash and then jumping into his arms. As you want to come with me? As Larvitar would nod. And as Ash would hug the Larvitar, the Tyranitar would speak up, the mother would speak up, and it would give Ash a look. And it would pretty much talk to Ash, pretty much saying, "Raise my child to be strong." Ash would nod, and Ash would say he can understand her, and he promises, her son will grow up to be the strongest ever, the strongest Tyranitar in history. The mother would nod, and it would come up to its child and put its 2 heads together. Grow up strong, my son. And once you become the greatest Tyranitar ever, return to me once more. The Larvitar would promise its mother to come back, and it would look at Ash. "We will be back, and we'll show your mom just how strong you've gotten when this is over." The Larvitar would nod, and the mother would end up walking back to the mountains, and Ash would end up catching Larvitar, adding it to its new team, and Larvitar would be a real go-getter, would be eager to fight. So this Larvitar would be an actual strong Pokemon off rip. Okay, now for onto oh god, we got one more catch. Ash can put Heracross in Professor Oak's lab as well, because Heracross isn't really, well, okay, Heracross is good, but it doesn't really evolve. So Heracross can just learn from the other Pokemon. So now one more Pokemon.